By 2001, the United States of America had produced the greatest number of reliable and effective tactical surface fighters for the human war effort. Among their best designs were the latest, third-generation craft, machines which emphasized stealth technology and near unrivaled combat efficiency. While the Raptor would earn a name for itself in several small but pivotal engagements, other machines existed, ones which struggled to see the light of the world stage. As prototypes, these third-generation American TSFs held the potential to permanently change the way US military doctrine addressed the threat of the Beta. America's latest third-generation TSF is the F-35 Lightning II. As of 2001, it remains in its operational testing and development phases. As a potential stealth-capable successor to the F-16 and F-18, it is the low in the US military's high-low mix, and is intended to be employed alongside the F-22, which serves as the high end of the concept. As a stealth craft, it is built to be affordable and exportable, yet still capable of a wide array of mission capabilities. Developed by Lockheed Martin, the F-35 has not yet seen deployment into the US Armed Forces. In fact, due to budget cuts to its rather expensive program and the high specification requirements for its design, the F-35's development faces significant obstacles from its opponents. Many of those who advocate for the G-bomb-centered doctrine of Alternative 5 believe the Lightning II to be an entirely unnecessary project. The machine's history first began in 1990. Following the end of the ATSF program, the United States initiated the Joint Strike Tactical Surface Fighter program. The competing craft were required to meet the demands of the multiple US military branches involved. The Army only required a renewed upgrade to its TSF forces, while the Navy and Marine Corps required it to be compact and light enough to partake in carrier operations. This was complicated further when the Royal Navy joined the JSTSF program, where they requested the addition of dogfighting capabilities. In order to cut costs and satisfy those who criticized the expensive program, Congress began inviting numerous other Western Bloc countries to share in the development of the new craft. They intended to create a next-generation upgrade for all participant European Union allies, strengthening American interest in the predicted post-Beta world, and at the lowest possible price for such a well-rounded, stealth-capable TSF. The resulting competition would put the Boeing Corporation's X-32 against the Lockheed Martin X-35. Both craft would incorporate numerous features in their design to meet the requirements of all invited nations. In doing this, the X-32 was said to be far more innovative, with easily interchangeable parts between its Navy and Army variants. Meanwhile, the X-35 was less costly to produce, better satisfied the need for a compact carrier-based machine, and was superior in stability during operation. In the end, the X-35 was chosen, receiving its designation of F-35, and was soon on its way to international development. It would receive 3 variants: the A model, which was the standard Army variant; the B model, meant for use by the Marine Corps and Royal Navy; and the C model, which was built to the specifications of the US Navy. Much like the Raptor, the F-35 utilizes many of the active and passive stealth technologies kept closely guarded by the US military. Upon export, it would be downgraded from its more classified capabilities, but its recipients would still retain use of a well-balanced stealth TSF, more than suitable to replace their aging craft. The Lightning II uses a pair of Pratt & Whitney Fe-135 PW600 jump unit engines, which used developmental experience from the F-22 to give the F-35 significant engine output, allowing it to supercruise, much like the Raptor. The B variant is also given increased output so as to maximize the TSF's ability to launch vertically from the deck of a transport carrier. In combat, the F-35 would primarily use the AMWS-21 assault gun. Having Navy offshore bombardment requirements in its design, it was also intended to be able to attach missile containers, such as the MG-1140 ATAC-MS, or the Type 92 multi-purpose missile launcher onto its shoulder-mounted hardpoints. And much like the F-22, it would also store at least one CIWS-1B foldable multi-purpose close combat knife in its knee armor block. In a revolutionary step for American TSF design, the F-35 would also feature fixed armaments built into its frame. Its shoulder blocks each consist of two horizontal blade vanes, installed in a manner so as to maintain its low radar signature. The knee compartments as well were fitted with forward-facing supercarbon edges, as were the bladed protrusions on its feet. These were bequests made by foreign militaries, such as the British Armed Forces, who regularly engaged the Beta at close range along the front lines. Fixed armaments are a TSF design feature intended to supplement a craft's ability to fight in close quarters, primarily when infiltrating a hive. In the event of Beta managing to make physical contact with the machine, or the TSF's main weapons being engaged elsewhere, the fixed armaments can be utilized as defensive or alternative means of neutralizing the threat. The survivability of a TSF is significantly higher in a dogfight when incorporating these fixtures upon their armor. Overall, while the F-35 is fully capable of matching the Raptor's anti-TSF role, it was also built with lessons learned from frontline countries, allowing it to capitalize on anti-Beta features. The joint nature of these factors would result in a highly mobile, stealth-capable, multi-purpose next-generation TSF. The primary model meant for international export is the A model. It features the best in cost-effectiveness, allowing for an easier acquisition by smaller militaries. The B model boasts significant engine output, allowing it improved VTOL capabilities when operating from the deck of a landing ship. Both the Royal Navy and the US Marine Corps intended to utilize this version. The C model is intended for use by the US Navy, who required it to have a more robust frame to withstand catapult launches. It is also built with more hardpoints so as to mount more armaments for landing operations. There are no known military units which utilize the F-35, as it has not been incorporated into the military as of 2001, due to the frequent budget cuts amid its mounting list of features during development. The F-35's procurement schedule has suffered considerably. It is unknown when this TSF will enter service. Created as a prototype for the Advanced Tactical Surface Fighter competition, the YF-23 Black Widow II was a contender for the US Army's first third-generation TSF. Its conception began not long before the deployment of the highly successful F-15 Eagle in 1983. Although the craft never came to fruition, it was renowned as a technological marvel, though some would deride it for being over-engineered. The YF-23 Black Widow was developed jointly by Northrop and McDonnell Douglas for the ATSF competition. It not only shared many of the required stealth features with the Raptor, but also incorporated cutting-edge designs which led many to consider it superior to the machine from Lockheed. These would include its implementation of close combat features, allowing for optimal performance against both stealth TSFs and Beta. Such designs were added with the intent of foreign sales in mind, as the acquisition of the F-15 had exceeded expectations, and renewal requests for American craft were enthusiastically on the rise. As a result, its developers sought to produce a perfectly balanced stealth craft, excelling in all-round combat and engineered with the latest in technology. Unlike most TSFs, the YF-23 was built around a unique and specifically designed armament loadout, rather than being logistically compatible with the US military's standard weapon systems. Its assault cannon was the XAMWS-24, a uniquely designed assault gun with a 20% increase in carrying capacity for 120mm cannon rounds, and a 30% increase in 36mm chain gun rounds. This weapon system also featured the XM9 mounted dagger, affixed in a manner similar to a bayonet. Blade vanes and large combat daggers served as supplementary close-quarters equipment as well, but the Black Widow's primary melee weapon was the XCIWS-2B close-in weapon system. In a departure from standard US military doctrine, the XCIWS-2B was a pylon-carried longblade. It bore a resemblance to the Japanese Type 94 longblade and functioned in much the same manner. This US-developed variant improved upon the Japanese design, and it saw extensive testing during the YF-23's flight and combat trials, reinforcing the craft's projected anti-beta capabilities. To further enhance its arsenal, the YF-23 featured 4 mount pylons, rather than the standard 2. These were placed upon the rear of the shoulder armor blocks, allowing the Black Widow to carry a loadout of up to 6 weapons if necessary. Not only would this increase the TSF's ability to damage the enemy on the battlefield, it would also provide much needed longevity to the craft's operating time before having to withdraw to rearm. For deep strikes into hostile territory, such as in the depths of a hive where friendly forces can easily be cut off, this factor was considered likely to increase survivability. 2 trial craft were created for the ATSF competition, the PAV-1 Spider and the PAV-2 Grey Ghost. The Spider was outfitted with a pair of General Electronics YFE-120 GE100 jump unit engines, while the Grey Ghost used the Pratt & Whitney YFE-119 PW100 engines. This was done in order to compare the performance of the TSF with either jump unit, in much the same way the 2 YF-22 prototype craft were being evaluated. Throughout the course of the ATSF program, both the YF-22 and the YF-23 remained in a fierce deadlock. During mock combat trials, neither craft was able to overcome the other in terms of stealth. This would force the vast majority of their engagements into close range, where the YF-23 would prove superior. Overall, when pitted against one another in pairs, the results would show 18 wins for the YF-23, 14 losses, 5 engagements which ended in a draw, and 3 null results, likely due to maintenance issues and cancellations mid-battle. While Lockheed Martin's YF-22 was itself admirable in close quarters, it was placed thoroughly in check by the Black Widow's performance. Much to the surprise of both development teams, however, the YF-23 Black Widow would not be selected as the winner of the competition. Instead, the US military would go on to adopt the YF-22 instead. The result was due to the emerging G-bomb doctrine, popular among upper echelons of the military, as well as Congress, who above all else desired lower costs and risk-averse policies. Compared to the F-22, the YF-23 was far more expensive to produce. It also required a logistical shift in manufacturing, utilizing multiple weapons which were compatible with no other TSF from the United States military. The mount pylons themselves were unique to the Black Widow and its weapon systems alone. Much like with the F-14 and its Phoenix missile, it would be a costly machine to procure and a costly one to maintain. Such factors were only reinforced by its inconsistency with American TSF tactics, which placed a low priority on close-range combat. Thus, the Black Widow's successful development program would fade out in favor of the Raptor. Both the Spider and Grey Ghost would be disassembled and left in storage at Edwards Air Force Base. A proposal for the US Navy to adopt the craft would quickly fall flat for much the same reason as the Army's. For a time, the YF-23s would serve as museum pieces after undergoing visual restoration, and it was believed they would amount to nothing more. Only two variants of the YF-23 exist, the PAV-1 Spider and the PAV-2 Grey Ghost. The former used a charcoal gray pattern marked with a single red hourglass on the underside of its chest block. The latter was distinguished by a light gray pattern, suiting its namesake. Both of these TSFs would be fully restored in 1993, where they would take part in a covert mission on July 11th of that year. During culling operations along the Scandinavian coast, the Spider and Grey Ghost would breach the Nordic line, fighting their way across the former Finnish border into Murmansk. While details remain scarce, they were tasked to recover a Soviet TSF attached to the Alternative 3 program, as well as its pilot. Captain Sandberg, test pilot of the Grey Ghost, accompanied a possible CIA operative in the Spider, and the two are believed to have succeeded in their mission. This concludes our coverage of the available and depicted tactical surface fighters and attackers of the United States of America. As always, a huge thank you goes to the Patreon supporters. If you would like to provide support as well, the link is in the description. There are many more regions of the world we have yet to cover, such as the Soviet Union, Imperial Japan, and European nations. Stay tuned for the intel records regarding them by liking, commenting, and subscribing.